Because it's Joshua Vergara from Android Authority. What's going on, everybody? And this is your first look and hands-on with the Samsung Galaxy Note 7. If you're looking at this device and it looks incredibly familiar, well, you're absolutely right. It does retain a lot of the look and feel, the design language that started with the Samsung Galaxy S6 and has moved on to devices like the S7, the Note 5, and the S7 Edge. But there is a bit of refinement to this design language that actually makes a world of difference. First of all, the phone is now water resistant, but not just the phone, but also the S Pen, which means that you can actually take notes underwater. Though we may not necessarily know why you would want to, it is a feature that is available now on the Note 7. The designers of the Note 7 made a big deal about this phone's symmetry. You have curves on the front for a curved display, but there are also curves on the glass of the back, and that means that both sides meet in the middle in order to meet the metallic skeleton. The result is a very comfortable feel in the hand as the sides feel really smooth and that lip actually doesn't protrude out a whole lot. The result also means that you have a somewhat more narrow device and it's less bulky than the Note 5 that came before it. Aside from the very comfortable handling, however, a lot of what makes this a Note device, or a Galaxy device actually, remains the same. Plenty of the different elements are still in the same place that you would expect, including the S Pen on the bottom that is now accompanied by one of the main changes, which is a USB-C charging port. This is a brand new port for Galaxy phones in general, and it means that you are going to need an adapter in order to adapt to micro USB cords. Luckily, that will be included in the box. Popping out the SIM tray also reveals a micro SD card slot. Now, you are able to use up to 2 terabytes in capacity for these cards, but none of those actually exist. Samsung, however, just recently released a 256 gigabyte card that you could use to bolster the 64 gigabytes of base storage. Yes, you heard it right, 64 gigabytes is the main model and there are no other capacities available. From there, however, a lot of the internals and specifications remain largely the same. You don't get too many changes as the phone comes with a 5.7-inch Super AMOLED display in a Quad HD resolution that also boasts the always-on display. Underneath the surface, you still have the same processors from the Galaxy S7 and S7 Edge, whether it be the Snapdragon 820 or the latest Exynos processor with 4GB of RAM. And the only real change besides from that is a 3500 mAh battery that is larger, definitely more in line with what a phablet phone like this should have, and it also comes with the same fast charging that should get the phone power in no time at all. Now, we are going to go ahead and mention the cameras here, but we weren't able to get any examples or samples, obviously, but the camera package is still the same as that of the Galaxy S7. 12 megapixels on the rear at f1.7 aperture with dual pixel construction so that you get very fast autofocus and better low light shots. The front-facing camera is still an f1.7 aperture wide-angle lens with 5 megapixels to boast. Which brings us to one of the main features of every Note device, the S Pen. The S Pen largely looks the same this year, but it has been made 200mm in length, the length of a standard ball pen. And it's only 3 grams in weight, so it's still incredibly lightweight and has that button that you can use for a number of functions. And before you even ask, it does not go in backwards anymore. There's not even a chance for you to break the S Pen this time around because that very small portion at the top, the clicky top, is just wide enough to stop it from even going in at all. We dive into the S Pen features a little bit more in a feature-focused video, but we can take a look at a few of them here. The main new feature is that in the screen-off memo that you can create by just popping the S Pen out in standby mode, you can take this memo and actually pin it to the always-on display. That allows you to have a note always at the ready even if the phone is not necessarily being used. The Air Command menu is a good way of seeing a few of the new features, including the ability to translate from 71 different languages, and also a magnify feature that will allow for closer looks at certain parts of the interface. Smart Select now allows for a 15-second capture of an easily shareable GIF. Basically, you just put a frame onto any portion of the screen and it will record 15 seconds of whatever is going on. It's an easy way of sending GIFs through the Smart Select, which already makes sharing pretty much anything very easy. And finally, the Notes app has been streamlined and it now consolidates a number of different applications that used to inundate the TouchWiz version of Note devices in the past. And for an added bonus, any of you who really love to use Notes can actually use this app on Galaxy S devices too in the future. Which brings us to security features and the iris scanner. Now, essentially, you have to take your glasses off and perhaps even contacts when first scanning the iris in order for you to have one set of irises that can unlock the device. After that, you pretty much unlock the device, swipe up, and an infrared camera with an infrared light rather at the top near the front-facing camera will scan for that set of irises and then just unlock the device straight into the interface. It's a pretty nice way of getting straight into your phone if you're just going to be looking at it anyway. The same security features that unlock the device can also be used for a secure folder, and these are also things that we dive into a little bit more in a feature-focused video. Much of what makes this a Note device is retained, so it will feel very familiar, but at least the UI has been streamlined. There's no better place to look at that than in the settings menus. So you'll see that there are lighter colors all around. A lot of the menu items and a lot of the TouchWiz elements are now pretty much white with the colors to accent them, and it just looks a lot cleaner all around. It's also a little bit easier to navigate, but of course there's a lot here to work with. But speaking of interface changes, of course we have the curved display on the Note 7, which will be a mainstay of it. You won't be getting a different version of this device anymore because we already have the S7 Edge, and you can look at that as a Note 7 without an S Pen. So the curves are here to stay, and with the curves come the Edge UX. There's actually not a whole lot to say here, as the Edge UX features are pretty much the same as found on the S7 Edge. And so there you have it for this first look and hands-on with the Samsung Galaxy Note 7. We have a lot of coverage of this phone, including color comparisons, the two feature-focused videos I just mentioned, and of course comparisons with some of the flagships in the Android space today. You can take a look at even more about the Note 7 at AndroidAuthority.com, but for the most part we are dealing with a phone that kind of takes the lead of the S7 line and just makes it bigger with, of course, that little friend in the S Pen. Pre-orders will start on August 3rd, and then the phone will be made available all over the world on August 19th. There are 4 different colors, and you can take a look at that comparison in our color comparison video. Oh, and also there is a new Gear VR that is available as well, and that is something you can find over at vrsource.com. So head on over there, watch that video to see the new 4th iteration of VR, and then bring it on back to Android Authority because we are your source for all things Android.